Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good wherever you are. I'm your host, That Lit Astro Chick, the channel where we discuss the natal charts of writers, artists, and anyone else that I find interesting. So currently I am studying for an exam, and I'm now getting down to the crunch time because I'm about 2 weeks away from taking it. And that has meant that I've cut out everything else and gone into hibernation mode, and I haven't been able to upload onto this channel as much as I would like. However, I did want to get another video out so that I can get some more practice in terms of reading natal charts. So for today's natal chart, I'm going to take a look at Jane Austen, Miss Pride and Prejudice, Miss Mansfield Park, Miss Sense and Sensibility, Miss Everybody Knows Who She Is. We all know her for her period pieces that were about love and marriage as well as strategy. So I wanted to take a look at her natal chart really quickly before I dove back into studying. So without further ado, here is her natal chart. Jane Austen was born on December 16th, 1775 at 11:45 p.m. So this would make her a Sagittarius sun and a Libra moon. First thing that I notice immediately with Jane Austen is the life path that she has, because she's a 3. And 3 is going to be ruled by Jupiter. So this is going to refer to somebody who will be very much independent as well as on their own in the exploration of different ideas that they may come to them. They're always going to be in the search for truth. The life path 3, it deals with achievement. So achievement and meditation. So she was somebody who was meant to be on her own in this particular lifetime. And this is emphasized by the fact that she is a Sagittarius sun sign, and of course, the planet Jupiter is ruled by Sagittarius. And at that 24th degree, that's going to refer to someone who's going to be very gifted in terms of having gifts that they've received from their ancestors, because it refers to things that get passed down to us. The next thing that I notice about her chart is, because we always have to talk about the nodes, is her north and her south node. So her north node was in Leo, and it looks like that is running parallel to her Black Moon Lilith, which was also in Leo. So people that have Leo as a life path, they tend to be people that will focus a lot on embracing their feelings as well as their creativity, as well as the exploration of romantic love. And a lot of what she wrote about had to deal with romantic love, as well as with strategy and how it dealt with networks. And the reason for that is because her north node is located in her 11th house. So that is the house that deals with what we can manifest quite easily. So she could have been somebody where writing for her could have come quite easily as far as getting the ideas for her novels. This also could speak to maybe an innovation in terms of the ways that she approached her writing, as well as the way that she wrote about marriage. I was more of a Charlotte Bronte, Wuthering Heights type of girl, because I was very, very much in my feelings when I was a teenager. So I kind of feel like I missed the Jane Austen boat. I know that she's a very good writer. I have read a couple of her novels, but they kind of hit differently when you're at a big age. But I would say that I do see where there is a lot of innovation in terms of the ways that she approached it, because her novels, they focus more on using marriage as a sense of convenience, as well as a sense of strategy, as opposed to focusing more on the love and the romantic aspects of them. Even though that romance, it tends to be omnipresent, especially if you watch any of the adaptations that you have. Like, I know that the BBC one, like, all the girls were like smitten over it, and I'm just kind of like, whatever. So that's the first thing that I do notice when it comes to that story about the nodes. So because her north node is in her 11th house, that would put her south node in her 5th. So she was most likely not somebody who really wanted to have children, or maybe she could have desired a child, and then maybe things may not have gone well for her pregnancy. But from what I understand from her biographies is that she wasn't interested in children. And one reason for that could be because it wasn't really congruent with who she was. So her Mars is at the 19th degree of Capricorn, and that is conjunct to her Pluto, and that is landing all in her 4th house. So Mars is exalted when it's in Capricorn because it refers to a very strong willpower that she was going to have. It would have meant that she would have been a very hard worker. Mars in Capricorn, I guess when I think about a more popular example, I think about the rapper Nicki Minaj, because she too has Mars in Capricorn. She is somebody who's going to be very hardworking. And she most likely received that work ethic when she was a child because they are located in her fourth house. This is also going to refer to something that's going to be deeply buried within her subconscious. Mars conjunct Pluto in Capricorn. Pluto in Capricorn, we just got out of it, the last iteration of it. It's going to refer to having more thought processes around reputation, stability, work life. There was probably a lot going on when it came to marriage where it was a transactional idea. And that was something that she really did bring forth in a lot of her novels. Also having Pluto on the fourth, it's going to refer to something very unusual that was going to be happening with her family. Maybe there could have been family secrets that could have gotten buried. But because this is also deeply ingrained into her subconscious, this could also refer to somebody where they would have spent a lot of their energy more focused on their home as opposed to being more focused on the outer world. And there are other explanations for I have when I do get to this, but I did notice that. So I would say her Mars conjunct to her Pluto, she was most likely someone who was very serious about her work. She was very serious about obtaining an income on her own. And I know that there was discord about how, I believe that this was from Virginia Woolf, that it's still very difficult for women to write because it requires that they have a room of their own, as opposed to focusing more on a marriage. And I think that this was something that was very much within Jane Austen's mindset, because she does have that Libra moon at the 14th degree. And the 14th degree can refer to limitations that we might have, specifically when it's going to come to movement. She has her moon conjunct to her Saturn, as well as that being in the second house. So she was someone who was very much focused on obtaining her finances because Venus is at its home when it's in the second house. And when it comes to Saturn in the second house, it's also going to refer to somebody who is going to be more focused on acquiring possessions. So Venus conjunct to Saturn, this could have made her someone who was very much a penny pincher when it came to her finances. This also would have been a combination to where she would have thought a lot when it comes to marriage, as well as when it comes to women and aging, because of that Venus and that Saturn conjunction that you have going on. So this could explain why she chose to write about some of the things that she chose to write about, specifically when it came to marriage, as well as strategy and taking responsibility for other people. Because I know that she wrote a lot about that when it came to family, specifically for the novel Sense and Sensibility. It was about three sisters, if I remember this correctly. And each one of them was going to go off and get married, and this marriage was to represent a responsibility that each would have, as opposed to being about romance or being all about love. So those were going to be two things that would have been very much focused on her mind at that time. There also could have been a lot of focus possibly on how to maintain a family, how to maintain a marriage. This was something that was very much going on in her mind, even though I can tell that because she has that moon conjunct Saturn, and that is squaring her Mars in Capricorn and her Pluto. This could show where she was very much deep in thought in that. This could also represent a desire for feminism and a desire for women to earn their own money. Especially when it comes to that Mars conjunct to that Pluto in Capricorn, squaring the moon and Saturn in Venus and Scorpio at the 9th degree. While I think that she did write a lot about marriage, I don't think that she was interested in a marriage. And I say that because that 9th degree that deals with Mars, that's conflict, and that also deals with identity. And in addition, Venus is at its detriment when it's in Scorpio because it's going to refer to something very shady that could happen when it comes to either someone stealing her money or taking her money, or maybe having a love affair that is very off and on, that's very hot and cold. It's also going to refer to a affair that could end up feeling like low-key trashy. Maybe she felt like what she wrote was low-key trashy. Another interesting aspect is that she does have her sun squaring her Neptune, and her Neptune was in the 24th degree of Virgo, so it's almost like a tight, it's a tight square. So this could be something that could refer to perhaps where she could have, where she really could have fantasized a lot about having some type of normalcy as well as a routine, as well as someone who was willing to help her. But I do also see how this aspect could have made her somewhat shady, since that that she may not have always been telling the truth. She could have fudged some things, possibly when it came to her routines, or when it came to maybe the ability to lie, or like the willingness to lie. That could have been something that came up as well. Now, she has her Mercury in Sagittarius and her Jupiter in Gemini, and those are running in mutual reception to each other. And it's interesting because those are both actually at its detriment. Mercury in Sagittarius is going to refer to someone who will be very much scraping and big picture and large, as opposed to Jupiter in Gemini, which will refer to someone where the way that they think is going to be very small. It's going to be very much focused on what is within their immediate surroundings. She also could have been somebody who probably could have fidgeted a lot. I definitely can see that with that moon conjunct Saturn in Libra, because Libras, they tend to fidget a lot. And that's just something that I've noticed from the ones that I know. However, because you do have this Mercury-Jupiter opposition, this could give a lot of means for ideas that she could have when it came to her writing. And that was the reason as to why her writing was so ingenious, especially with a lot of the plots that she had. Another interesting aspect, I think, is the fact that she has her Jupiter conjunct to her midheaven, and that is in Gemini. Yes, it's in Gemini. So this could show where she could have had a lot of good luck when it came to the work that she did. It also could have showed that maybe she could have felt overworked, because I know that Jupiter is fallen when it is sitting in the 10th house, because it could refer to somebody to where they may only leave the house for work, or they may only talk about their work. Or another interpretation of having Jupiter in Gemini is this could have been her being out on the town. Maybe, I don't know what ladies wore back in those days. Maybe like with her petticoats. I think that's a civil war, but we'll say her petticoats and her bustles. And the only thing that she may have been able to talk about would have been that midheaven in Gemini, conjunct to that Jupiter. So maybe she only would have left the house when it came to her work. And this would have been work around the city, because she does have both of those signs in Gemini. It's also going to refer to more a responsibility towards her communication. And this does make sense because she was a writer. This would also put her sun on the Natal, which is the lowest point of her natal chart. So this would have meant that she would have most likely felt very awkward when she was going to be going on and out and about in the town. She also was somebody that I definitely could see as being single long term. And I say that because she does have her Chiron in Aries at the 11th degree. The 11th degree is going to refer to an issue surrounding her identity. And that was in her 7th house, which is her descendant. So this definitely would have pointed to also just not having a partner long term that was going to be within her life. Another interesting thing that I find with this Chiron in Aries is that it also squares her Mars. So this could have maybe included a lot of fighting that could have gone on in her house. Maybe some arguing that was concerning the work that she did. However, she was somebody who probably felt like a fraud in some way when it came to her work, because she does have her Neptune squaring her midheaven. And that Neptune, once again, is in Virgo. So maybe there is a test around her faith, or maybe not faith, her around her self-worth, because I know that Virgo deals with worth. There also could maybe been some humiliation that she could have endured for the work that she was publishing or getting a publisher at the time. And she could have potentially felt like a fraud in some way with this aspect. However, because she does have her Mercury in that 6th degree of Sagittarius trining with her Chiron in Aries, this would have meant that her writing would have been a way for her to focus more on healing that wound about a lack of identity, as well as perhaps some considerations around what her physical body was or the way that she was raised, because her Chiron is also in opposition to that Libra moon as well as that Saturn. So I think I want to wrap up here. I don't want these to go on for too long. I do have a tendency to run my mouth on these, and I did want to get them out a little bit sooner. I could always blah blah a chart. However, if you would like for me to blah blah your chart, please feel free to reach out to me. I will most likely open up an Etsy store at some point once I'm able to get the time to do so. And I am really happy that I did this video. Now I need to go back to studying. This now concludes my video on Jane Austen's natal chart. Thank you so much for listening and for watching, and I will check back in with the next video.